What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Meochia, and I am here with Barton. This woman is so amazing, so funny, but just let me just tell you the title of her book. Let me get that out of the way. The title of her book is Laughing Through the Ugly Cry. Even the title is funny because I know that cry from being heartbroken. And it's just like, I'm going to tell you how that cry sounds. It's like, that's how it sounds.
But has a face with it. Yeah.
It's like you can't even breathe. You can't even get it out. So I understand that. But Dawn is here to talk about not only her book, but just to share just lessons in life with us. And the book is so amazing because it is a reflection of her life, but how she seems to find humor in everything. And I thought that it was very important to bring Dawn on in a time like this because our worlds have been rocked. Our nations have been rocked. Everything has been rocked right now, dealing with the murders of George Floyd, dealing with Ahmaud Arbery, dealing with Breonna Taylor, just all these things. And tension is at a high. And you have white people on one end who don't know what to say. You got black people on the other end. They're hurting. They're upset. You got the police on the other end who are saying, I'm not a bad cop. Not all of us are bad. You got so much stuff going on. And all of this change is coming. So in a situation where everything is so tense, Dawn comes out with this book, and she didn't do it on purpose. She was actually sharing her life, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious, but at the same time, it's serious because she's gone through so many things. But in the midst of those things, she's found a way to find joy. And that's exactly what the Bible tells us to do. The Bible tells us to find joy. And it isn't until, and I love what you say, Dawn, you call it a divine joy.
That's
and
right.
It isn't until you go through things that are so intense that you understand the things that you make such a big deal out of are not as big as you thought they were. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Dawn Barton. Wow!
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Dawn,
it's a crazy time to be coming on and talking about joy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's why we needed you. Dawn, what inspired you? Wait, before you tell me even the whole thing about what inspired you to write the book, what inspired the title of the book?
Oh, I would love to tell you this great moment, but my title for the book was actually Unstoppable Joy, and the publisher came back with Laughing Through the Ugly Cry.
I like your
I know, and it was brilliant because I remember a gajillion years ago, Oprah Winfrey, it's the first time I ever heard ugly cry. Oprah Winfrey was talking about it on her show, and she was explaining what the ugly cry was. And it's that, there is nothing pretty about that cry. Yeah, it is an ugly cry. But it's also, I was raised with a life that we are laughing at the same time. We're crying and laughing. And just in the midst of heartache, we can always find some joy. And that's the premise of what I wanted to share.
Amen. Okay. So they came up with that title, which I love. Now, what inspired the book? Because you tell some very intimate stories and you go into detail, which I absolutely love. What made you do it?
Well, I am the first one to acknowledge that when I tell what I'm about to tell you, I fully understand that I sound all kinds of crazy.
No, not to me, which is scary.
But I had a dream. And in that dream, God said, you're going to write a book. I said, oh, no, I'm not. I legit argued with God. And I said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not a journaler. I don't write. I don't even read books. I'm not your, go a couple doors down. I'm not your girl. And he just you're going to write a book, And he said, wake up, wait. And I remember saying, no, I'm tired. I'm arguing. And he said, write this down. And the next morning when I woke up, I expected to wake up to this, like these paragraphs, right? But I woke up to just 6 words, and I knew what everyone went. So the chapter that you're talking about with the prosthetic breast that you and I were talking about is a chapter called, what is it called? The Joy in Getting Lucky. The Joy in Getting Lucky. And so what the word that I got that night was just lucky, but I knew what that meant, that whole chapter. And so that's how it started.
So was that what was the 6 words that he gave you?
I'd have to go back and look, but lucky was one.
Okay.
but it was all words that I knew what the story meant to it.
Amen.
And that's how it started. It was a dream. And at the time I was the number 7 sales director in Mary Kay. So just out of 600,000 women, I was the number 6 sales director, 7 sales director.
Can you send me some Balara? Can you please send me some Balara? Oh my God.
Yeah, if I had it, I would.
I love Balara. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And I felt him calling me to just take a leap of faith, that I have something more for you. And that was the hardest. I loved what I did. I loved my girlfriend. I loved it. And taking that leap of faith was hard. But it took 934 days from the dream to the day the book came out.
Amen. Amen. And that's pretty good, because on average it takes usually about 3 years to 11 years for someone to write a book. And sometimes it's a waiting period. When I wrote my first book, I thought I was ready. I just knew it. But God had me in waiting. Now, I am a writer. I love to write, but he had me in waiting. And I understand now. This is my first book. He had me in waiting, and he was waiting for my husband, waiting for my life to catch up, and waiting for my relationship with him to change. So the fact that you were obedient and you did it, and the fact that it's right on time, you know it was nobody but God, Joy. I mean, I'm
gonna just say something. I didn't do it with grace. There is not a patient part of this body. So it was such a lesson. I did it kicking and screaming. The contract negotiation took almost 9 months. And I kept seeing, it was this freakish thing that it was lasting this a crazy amount of time. And then they kept moving back the publishing date, that just for crazy reasons. COVID was one reason. And now I can see why. But boy, at the time, I'm just a hot-headed, crazy blonde woman talking about, I can't understand why this can't be done. And, God's timing is so good and so perfect. And that it came out exactly when it came out, and it's supposed to be out when it came out.
Amen. God's timing is perfect timing. Now, in this book, Laughing Through the Ugly Cry, you talk about all these things that you've gone through. And just for our listeners and viewers to just kind of understand this, Don has been through miscarriage, the death of a child. I'm talking about a baby who's born. She died at 9 months. She went through a divorce. And a lot of you who have lost a child can probably understand this, because a lot of people separate and divorce after the loss of a child. Rape, breast cancer, dealt with addiction, the death of a sibling. Her mom had an aneurysm. Just all these things back to back to back. And the breast cancer thing, I know that just rocked your world, but you found a way in all of these experiences to find humor. Now, really quickly, can you tell us about the breast cancer thing, when you and your sister were sitting here doing this mohawk thing, cutting your hair off? Because that was a traumatic time for you.
It was awful. It was so awful. I'm somebody, you can't tell right now because it's a little bit greasy for those of you who are watching the video, but I have great hair. I have really bad metabolism, but really great hair. It's my thing, I got flabby arms, flabby thighs, but my hair is good. And so when the doctor told me, he said, you're going to lose your hair between day 17 and 19. So I was like, okay, I got this. Day 17, 19. Okay, I'm prepared. Yes. Okay. And I was about to go through another round of chemo. It was day 14. My sister was coming in from Houston to help me through it. And when I went to get ready and I put my hands in my hair, I had some like kind of balm in my hands, and I put it, and I pulled my hands down. It was filled with hair. And all I could think is, he lied. It is day 14. It is not day 17. Yeah, I am not ready for this. I was ready, I was so not ready. So when I went to the airport and I picked up Jody, I picked her up with an ugly cry. My hair is, my heart was so broken. And she said, okay. She said, let's go get some wine. Let's go, get the razor. Let's get some good music. Let's go do this. And it was, it's hard to even talk about. It was so precious. We laughed so hard because she, of course, didn't just cut my hair off. She first made a mohawk, and she did my initials in the back of my head.
That was hilarious.
She did all kinds of fun stuff. And we were laughing through the ugly cry. So it was a cry and, cracking up laughing, and then a cry. And I felt so ugly. I had this, because it isn't just shaving off your hair, which is a part of who you are. For me, it was that my scalp was so, I didn't realize how much color was on my face, but my scalp was so white. So it was so, it just stood out to me like this blazing white thing of ugliness at the time. And can I tell the story about my husband overseas seeing me?
I was gonna get to that because that was just
Okay.
beautiful how he responded to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when that happens, you know, it's just, it's like it's devastating to your femininity. And my husband at the time was deployed with the Navy, and he was overseas in Bahrain while I was sick, and we were going to Skype. We had scheduled to Skype, and I was so scared to see him. I was so scared. And so I sat in front of the computer, and I heard it ringing, and it opened up, and his screen opened up, and he was there, and he immediately, his eyes were bright, and he said, "Oh, you look so beautiful." And he never hesitated. He never wavered. And I put my hands on my head, and he said, "Take them down. You look so beautiful." And I never will forget that moment in all of my life, just because, you know, when someone's wavering, there's a flicker in an eye, there's something. And he never did. He truly, it was one of the most beautiful moments in our marriage. And had we not had the pain of cancer, I would have never had what to this day stands as the most beautiful moment in my marriage.
Have you not seen the bald-headed mannequins at the store? Have you not? Girl, those mannequins be fabulous.
Well, they are now, but you know, this has been 9 years ago for me, so they were not. It is everywhere now. I'm going to say maybe, just maybe, I started a trend. Okay.
But when you wrote about that experience with your sister, and you just took me to, I mean, my emotions were just kind of like up and down on this joyous roller coaster with you, and how you talked about how your husband responded. I was just like, oh my goodness. And just bringing it back to the things that are going on now. And I know you said that one of your very good friends is an African American woman, a Black woman. And we got so many titles, I don't know which one to use. I say Black.
I don't either. Yeah. She says Black, so I say Black.
Amen. Black. I use Black. I say we use whatever we want to use, because we are whatever we want to be. And but for now, I know you can understand that I've had that feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I know she'll probably tell you, we have to be so strong sometimes that it's hard for us to cry. And just having all these things happen back to back, Don, my stomach has been hurting so bad. And just getting those moments where I can just stop for a moment and have a laugh. Just stop for a minute and just see the joy in it. Like I led a march last Saturday where I had the people in the church come out. I wanted the women to come out hand in hand and march together, especially white women, to talk about, you know, how it's their responsibility also to talk to their children, you know, about racism and loving people, and talk to their husbands, because we empower our husbands. Honey, before you go out, I just want you to know that I love you and Jesus loves you, and I want you to go out there and I want you to love and see everybody how Jesus sees them. Just putting that little plan in, right? Mm-hmm. And so anyway, when we were doing the march, this homeless guy comes up and he starts telling me how, he said, "I really like what you're doing with the women." I was like, "Thank you." He said, "You know, in one of these wars," and I forgot which war it was back in the day, he said, "You know what the women did?" I said, "What?" He said, "They stopped giving the men some." I said, "What?" He said, "Yes, the women. That's why you all are important, and that's why I'm here supporting you." He said, "Because the women stopped giving the men sex, and when they stopped giving the men sex because they wanted that nonsense to end of a war, the war ended. You all have more power than you think."
That's fantastic.
Can I just tell you that over these past 2 weeks, this was the first time that my stomach has stopped hurting, because I was holding it, laughing at the joy that this man had given me in such a delicate moment.
Oh, that is fantastic. That, my friend, is laughing through the ugly cry.
All the women in the world, just stop having sex. All the wives, hold out, stand strong.
Right, I love it.
So yeah, just the precious moments, and then we go into this story about, wait, Lucky. His name is Lucky. Her name is Lucky. Its name is Lucky.
I decided it was a he because there's nothing, a female thing wouldn't be that hot and that uncomfortable, you know, so it had to be a he, right? It was heavy, hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. And what we're talking about is my prosthetic breast. I had stage 3 triple negative breast cancer, and I was not allowed to have reconstructions right at the time because I had so much radiation and chemo. So in the meantime, I had to have a prosthetic.
Stop. Do you have your nipple yet?
No.
Okay, keep going. You all have got to get this book, Laughing Through the Ugly Cry. Okay, Joy, go ahead. I mean, Don, I keep going. I'm sorry.
You know what? You're not the first person to do that. So I'm at this point, I'm just like considering it a compliment. So,
She's a joyologist. I'm a hugologist.
My shirt says joyologist.
Joy, there you go. I'm a
Okay.
hugologist. I don't want people to call me Hug. That's not a cute name. But Joy is awesome. I love it. Okay, Joy, go ahead.
I went and got this prosthetic breast. It weighed 4 pounds and it was hot. And it was, every time I'd be somewhere, especially if it was important or on an airplane, it was forever like coming up and be about right here. Somebody walk in, they kept looking down at me, trying to keep eye contact, but this prosthetic breast was always out. But I finally found a bathing suit that this breast could go in. Like it held it perfectly. There was a cover. It was so perfect. And every year for, around 4th of July, I'm in Pensacola, Florida, and Pensacola, Florida is the home of the Navy flying team, the Blue Angels. It is a huge weekend. It's so exciting. We love to watch the Blue Angel show. The Blue Angels fly them. And we had rented with our friends a 40-foot sailboat. This is the first time. And the children, we had 4 kids with us. They were all scared to jump. So Casey, my dear girlfriend, and I decided we're going to show the children there's nothing to fear. This is so easy. Watch us do this. So we have them all lined up on the boat and her husband, John, is filming, and we look at them and we say, 1, 2, and I jump into the water. And as soon as I hit it, bam, I felt Lucky go flying out of my bathing suit. And all I could think as I was going deeper into the water is, oh my gosh, I just lost Lucky. Oh my gosh. I think Lucky's $500. Will insurance cover another? Like that is what's going through my head, is replacing Lucky. And I come out of the water. I look at John and I say, I just lost my boob. And it felt like 15 minutes later, but it's just a few seconds later. I look over and it was about 10 feet away. Lucky comes like a torpedo out of the water, bursting through the water. And this is all on film, but the video is so funny because John is laughing so hard that the video is shaking so bad. And the children, when we looked back at them, their jaws were on their laps and they just were like, what? Oh, it was so funny. But those are some stories that were just hysterical in the midst of this battle with this cancer. So that one was a hoot.
Wait, that was the one when you were like, it reminded you of Rocky when he got to the top steps? That's why I was like, Adrian. I was cracking up, and I could just hear the music and this prosthetic breast just coming up out of the water. You was like, it can float. I
did not know Lucky floated till that moment, and thank goodness Lucky floated, because they're like $500. I'm just telling you, they're expensive.
For what?
One.
Now, okay. So I think all of my friends who have gone through need a copy of this book. So this is something else. Okay, I need to ask you this. It might be off topic, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. You said it's triangular. Is that what you said? It's shaped like a triangle.
Triangle. So you know how your bra, the actual bra is. I'm sorry, I'm giving you a visual here, but the bra is a triangle, right?
Oh yes.
So there's less mass up here, and then it gets fuller. So it's shaped like that.
Oh, okay.
It's the same as like it would completely fill out a bra, but it is. I never would have thought. I would have thought ball, like a ball. Yeah. I would have never thought triangular shape, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. And with my mind, it just does not help, because I was trying to figure out how a triangle would get into a bra. But I don't know why I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking that way.
Well, okay, when we're offline, I'll show you Lucky. Okay, you'll be.
So there's some, I thought this was interesting too. In your book, you have what is it? Oh my God. Why am I not getting Laughing Through the Ugly Cry? There's a part, there's different sections where you come up with all these words. And so I started putting cute little words together. I'm weird like that. I was just finding weird things. Infamy, frolicking. So you found some of your favorite words. So I'm thinking that you need a fab vocab.
I know. Well, the first one was voracious. I said that, yeah, voracious reader, mostly just because I want to use the word voracious.
Yes.
And infamy, yeah, like who doesn't want to say that something is, you know, in infamy?
Yes.
And then frolicking, yeah,
Frolicking, yes.
Frolicking is good. I also like the word phlebotomist, but that is not in there. But
My
I love that
mom
word.
was a phlebotomist.
Was she?
Yes.
I love the word. I don't know why. Oh, unconscionable. That is also another word I love.
That is a good one. See,
Yeah.
I like words. I don't have a big attention span. I'm one of those people. My husband and them tease me. They be like squirrel. I be like, where's the squirrel?
Right here.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I pick up on like the weirdest things. So you said your book, I was just loving. I said this book is great for the girl with a low attention span because it's just great. Okay, so what scriptures inspired you to not only write this book, but inspired you the most while writing the book?
Well, my favorite is Ephesians 3:20, and I never quote it properly. It's actually in my book. The book ends with it. And I never say, I even tell you in the beginning of the book, I never say scripture right. I never do. But I know it in my heart. How's that? And yeah. And what I loved so much is that it talks about God will bless you, you know, when you abide in him, he will bless you with immeasurably more. It also in another version says immeasurably more than you could ask or imagine. And so when I took this leap of faith, I thought that meant book sales, and what that, you know, like it's going to be such a big, because that's where my narrow human mind went. Oh, that means I'm going to have a best-selling book. But what it actually has meant in that 2-year window, we moved, we got a home. My mom sold their house. My parents sold their house. My mother-in-law sold her house. We sold our house. We bought this 23-acre property where we're all together, and it's this unbelievable life. So I am seeing like the fruits of what he meant by immeasurably more. Like it's so much more. Your family's going to be more. Your love's going to be more. Your time with them is going to be more. All of those things, you know, you're going to learn how to be still. You're going to learn how to be at peace. It's going to be so much more than you can ask or imagine. So that one's huge for me.
Amen. Any other scriptures that stand out to you?
Yes, there's one in, God, you're making me look like a really bad Christian here. Thanks a lot.
And I'm such a chatter. I do this to everybody. And they're like, can you send me questions? And I'm like, no.
No, I'll make you look stupid on air.
If you just want to say what the scripture said, you can do that.
No, by golly, we're going to, okay. So there is one, and I believe it is in 1 John. And it says, consider all trials to be a gift, is basically what it's saying. And I remember when I used to read that thinking, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. I am not going to consider all the hard stuff to be a gift. And now I so get it. But I remember being on the other side of that scripture thinking, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard, versus I felt you, I know you, I got to know you intimately in the depths of pain. Because of this heartache, my relationship grew with you. And that is why heartache to me is always there. It's always laced with joy.
Amen.
Divine joy.
Amen.
You know, I'm going to tell you something real quick. The night before I had that dream, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I had 4 friends send to me this video of Stephen Furtick interviewing TD Jakes about TD Jakes' book called Soar. And they were like, you need to watch this. And I went to YouTube and it was an hour and 40 minutes. I was like, nope, not going to happen. This like short attention span girl is not going to happen. Well, the fourth person that sent it to me, I trust her so much. And she just said, God is pushing me so much for you to listen to this. I said, Karen, am I naked in this? Like, what is on this video? Why are so many? She said, I'm just telling you, I feel like God's telling me to tell you to watch this video. So I watched the video, and here's the only thing I remember from it. Sometimes the thing you think you were created to do for the rest of your life is what you needed to do for the next season of your life. And when I heard that night is when I had the dream. And I knew when I heard it that first time, I felt like a stirring in my soul to leave Mary Kay. And then I knew that next night. So.
Amen.
Yeah.
So how is your book relevant to today's times?
It's not. I'm totally kidding. No, it's completely, I mean, I think we've had months of ugly cries. We've had months of our souls being shifted and stirred and questioning and wondering. And I feel like this is the ultimate invitation from God It may not feel like it, right? But I am telling you, there will be 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years, you're going to look back on the season and see how many gifts we had in this season and how much joy there was to be had in this season, how much we learned in this season. This will be a precious, precious time. We may not see it or feel it right now. And so that is my whole mission for this book, is to share a message of joy is a choice. You get to look at all of this and see the joy that has happened through all of it, but the choice is yours. And that is why I think this is God's divine timing right now that it came out.
So many of us have been yearning for a change, and it's like, I feel like this time is going to be different. I feel like this time the world sees it, and the world has been tired of it for so long. And I think this just gave us a reason, an excuse to just come out and say, enough is enough. And I think there's joy in that, seeing people who probably would have never held hands, walked together, cried together, or even sparked a conversation. This is something that's bringing us together. This is joy. I know God, I mean, it's tragic what happened and what's been happening.
Right.
I know God must be so proud of the fact that we are all coming together and saying enough is enough. It's time for us to stand up for our brothers and sisters, because what it really is, it's an attack against mankind. It's an
100%.
Our brother and sister. The enemy is not in flesh and blood. The enemy is a principality. The enemy is Satan, and he thought he had us. But God was smarter. God was like, but look what I got. It's called cell phones and cameras. And pretty soon, I'm going to take your picture. And wow, we all seen it. Nobody can deny it now. And everybody stand up. So I think,
and
so relevant.
I think it's, I will tell you that I would have considered, let's go back even, a week ago, 9 days ago, when this just is starting. And I thought, consider myself an educated woman who, I was actually raised all over the world growing up. So I didn't really have a lot of the prejudices I felt that a lot of people maybe raised in the South, which is where I'm from, have had. And so I kind of felt a little bit like, oh, I'm way ahead of y'all on the, little bit of an attitude about it. Like,
I'm an expert.
Yeah, I'm all good. I got a black friend. I'm totally good. So stupid. And then I watched a video. Sometimes it's just the one thing. I watched a video that's been out for a couple of years. I think it may have been at a camp where they line up these kids and they have them take 2 steps forward. They say all these different things. If you were raised with, if you had a dad in the home, if you were this, and realizing how many advantages I have had in my life, this privilege, and it brought me to tears. It takes a lot to bring me to tears like that, but not even realizing this is another one that got me. Band-Aids. I did not know all Band-Aids were in I know this sounds ridiculous, but those are the things we've needed some of the white people to just eat. Those of us who are thinking, no, I'm good. I mean, I teach my children to love everybody. No, it's so much bigger than,
ballerina tights.
I did not know. See? That's why this conversation has got to happen.
Colors, and you got to special order them. So my daughter, she's darker than me. She got to wear these light, bright tights, and my baby's Coco.
That's crazy. See?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I talk a lot.
No, but this wouldn't have happened if we weren't having this conversation. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Because it is truly a conversation on, I did not truly know, even considering myself somebody who was maybe ahead of things on the whole racist thing, I did not understand those things that were happening. And so glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's so important. God just gave me a book on my way jogging, and I'm like, oh, I got to find a white woman that I need to write this book with, because I think it'd be so fun. I want to do it in a fun way to talk about race. I want to do it in a fun, honest way, even though it's nothing funny about it, but it is some things that are just kind of humorous when you have a real conversation from the heart. Right. It's funny. I had a point, but I kind of can't remember what it was.
I was asking my black friend when all the Blackout Tuesday was happening. I called her that morning. I said, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to do this wrong. And she said, oh, I don't know. She said, I'm black, but I'm not blackity black. Let me call one of my friends. So she calls me, and about 30 minutes later, she goes, well, I posted it. Apparently I did it wrong. So don't listen to me. It was so funny, but I'm so glad I have someone I can have these real conversations
Yes,
with, and when we can have them and laugh through them. So I
yes.
think it is important to be able to laugh and be able to say those kind of things. I love
And we,
that.
and we tell people honestly, we be like, Black people are some of the most funniest, down to earth, warm hearted people that you will ever meet. But sometimes people are afraid of what they do not know. And when I describe privilege to people, I tell my husband teaches a multi-ethnic conversations class. It's based off of his book, Multi-Ethnic Conversations. But I tell him, I say, privilege is like being in a race where where you get to be 10 feet from the finish
Right.
line, but I have to start all the way at the start. That's
Yes.
it's like you got 400 years on me. I went through redlining where I couldn't buy property, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, and we're expected to run the same race. And when we finish the race, you say, "Boy, we were both at the same race. I don't understand why you couldn't finish." Well,
That's exactly what that video that did. I know that's why that video was so moving. But
yeah.
I also think the other problem with this conversation, I mean, like while we're diving into it, is the word privilege. Because when I kept hearing privilege, I thought it meant financial or something. I didn't understand it in the way of the other things. So again, that's the conversation, that's the education, that's listening and understanding. And I just had to do that. I just had to sit back, watch videos, listen, understand, not be defensive, not be uppity that I understood, but truly listen. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, and it's even on both sides. Us assuming that a lot of people know and they don't. A lot of white people, honestly, and it's unfortunately, don't know the history. When we all got our history books, they only gave us a section: Black people slaves.
It's true.
The truth about slavery, it just said slavery.
Yeah.
American history, and then that was it. And so, and it shocked me that so many people. I'm like, how could you not know? But people seriously and honestly don't know, and that's where it calls on us to be more compassionate. So, again, back to your book, Laughing the Ugly Cry. The fact that in these serious moments that can literally take somebody down, that can literally make you want to give up, you keep going and you keep purposely and intentionally finding joy. That's the most amazing part about this book. Not only are you finding joy, you're finding laughter in the midst of joy. And I think that you did an awesome job on this book. I got to ask you, what was your favorite chapter?
My favorite chapter is actually the one that's called She's Still Your Friend, that talks about, that, and I think it's because it's the one that I most want to, aside from the fact that I want to most tell people, choose Jesus, God loves you, that.
You said skip the cliches.
Yeah. I'm like that, of course. But it is a chapter that it was birthed out of me reading a Facebook post where somebody said, now that I have cancer, I know who my real friends are. And it got me to really think, and I'm like, no, you don't know who your real friends are. What you do know is who God put in your life and blessed you with, that had the spiritual gift of helping people that are sick and that need you. I mean, I had people that came and cooked meals, and I took care of my child, all of that. But my best girlfriends, like my people, my family, they are not wired that way. That's just not who they are. That what?
That's your new word, your new Black word, ace boon coons. Them like your ride or dies.
Okay, got it. Ace boon coons.
Yeah, you be like, these are my ride or die friends, my ace boon coons. Like,
that's right. I still talk to them. I love them, but I knew it wasn't their thing to come over and cook me meals or to bathe me or to help clean my house. It's not who they were. So if I would have held on so tight and been so angry out of hoping something came out of them that who they just weren't. The other thing is, you have no idea what somebody is going through in the season of life that you're going through something. And how dare us put the pressure on them. I remember when I had a friend who was sick, and I was going through the stuff with my husband who was battling alcoholism at the time. He's 5 years sober now, but and I remember her telling me stuff, and I was on the edge of collapsing emotionally from where I was, but I wasn't telling anybody. So it was just more, nobody would have known that that's what was going on with me. And if you were to look at me from the outside, you would have just thought I was an insensitive woman. But the reality was my world was crumbling. And we've got to give grace to people. We've just got to love people where they are, who they are. You just gotta.
And I believe that's what that chapter is. That chapter is about tolerance and grace. And again, with today's time, God knew exactly what he was doing with your book, Dawn. And don't you doubt for any minute that he didn't. tolerance and grace is what we need right now. Not only do we need you to listen, but we also have an open heart. We have to have an open heart, right? So that we can be able to tell our stories and understand that, you know, man, we can get through this together. It's because us being angry is not solving anything. But to sit back and just to laugh and just to begin a conversation and talk and have that tolerance and extend that grace towards each other. So this book was made for such a time as this. And I'm not saying that I'm not getting paid. I wish I was, but I'm gonna tell you, this book is just perfect for the time of today. It was perfect timing. So my last question is this a question? Yeah, I think it is. The takeaway. What is your biggest takeaway that you want us to have?
I want people to realize, I mean, if you want me to be really honest, I think sometimes I've visualized the Debbie Downers of the world, as we call them, the girl who's always the victim. They're always angry about something. There's just always something, you know. I want that person to be freed of that kind of heaviness and that anger, and to know that you literally get to choose joy. It is a one-woman job. It is a one-man job. You get to choose joy. You were not made for wallowing in sorrow and hate and anger and depression. We're not made for that. We were made to live a life of joy. So if there's any message I want somebody to take out of here, is that you get to choose it, and by the grace of God, I hope that you take it over and over and over, because it is work. I love the saying, God can move mountains, but don't be surprised when he throws you the shovel. And the truth is, he's going to throw you the shovel to go find your joy too, because the joy is in the journey. It's in the work. It's in the stretch. It's in the uncomfortable. So get uncomfortable and go find some joy.
I love it so much. I'm going to say again why Dawn Barton is an expert in what it is that she is telling you. Again, from the beginning, Dawn, and I love this part when she was honest. She was like, yes, I had the big cathedral wedding, but I was pregnant.
Yeah, I was.
That wedding, a miscarriage, the death of a child, divorce, rape, breast cancer, battling her husband's addiction, the death of a sibling, her mom's brain aneurysm, just going through all of these things, and she still managed to find joy. I love it. I want to thank you so much. Can you please tell us where we can find or purchase your book?
Oh, you can, anywhere books are sold, you know, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I really hope you'll support your local gift stores. It's in a lot of gift stores, and your independent bookstores. But anywhere books are sold, and I'd love for you to get it. It's also in an audio version, and I give a little few more stories on the audio than I do in the book.
Oh, good. Yeah. And when I tell you her stories are funny, she is so honest. It is hilarious. Do you have a website, Dawn?
Yeah, DawnBarton.com. And I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook, and it is Dawn. Everybody thinks I'm trying to be a pirate when I say this, but it's Dawn R. Barton. Dawn R. Barton. Dawn R. Barton on Facebook and Instagram.
R. Barton, but the website is Dawn Barton.
That's right, Dawn Barton.
DAWNBARTON.
You got it.
Laughing through the ugly cry. So listen up, everybody. You need this book now more than ever. I'm not getting paid. I wish I was. I'm not. But when it's something good, we have to tell people. And this woman is just she is true joy, and she is a true blessing. And I think right now we could use the honesty.
So, thank you.
I'm going to stop recording. I want you to stay on, and everybody else, make sure you go to DawnBarton.com. All right.